Climate change is one of the most serious challenges facing Europe today. Across the continent, temperatures are rising, extreme weather events are increasing, and societies are under growing pressure. From heat waves in southern Europe to floods in central regions, the effects are already visible. But what makes climate change especially difficult is uncertainty. This raises a key question: how should the European Union respond to an uncertain climate future? According to the European Environment Agency, Europe is already experiencing more frequent and more intense extreme weather events, including heat waves, droughts, floods, and wildfires. These changes are not just environmental, they affect every part of society. Some of these risks are already critical and urgent. Others could become catastrophic if no action is taken. Importantly, the impacts are uneven. Some regions and populations are much more vulnerable than others, and overall, Europe is still not fully prepared to deal with these challenges.
Hi Josef, tell me how old you are and what your name is.
Yes, as you already mentioned, my name is Joseph. I'm 21 years old. And you?
So I have one question. Do you think the EU is doing enough to address climate change?
Good question. I think, in my opinion, many good things have been done by the Paris Agreement. But as far as I know, the EU has a plan to lose carbon, like the greenhouse gases, up to 55% till the year 2030. So I think it's an ambitious goal, and I think it's good that they move forward. But I think they have to be more strict and, yeah, do more policies.
Do you know a lot about the Green Deal? Or do you know anything about the Green Deal?
No, not really. Can you explain it to me?
The Green Deal is a deal they created until 2050 to get zero emission or close to zero emission, I think.
Yeah.
Do you think this is like reachable?
Yeah, I've heard of that. Now that you mentioned it, like I think the goal was like till 2030. It was like cut the greenhouse emissions by 55%. 2030 was like 90%, and as you mentioned, the Green Deal 2050 is 0%, like 100%. I think if they move on like now, it's not possible. So we have to do more.
Which responsibility is it you think to reach the goals? Like, is it more at the consumer or more at the companies?
Consumer or company, I think it's a mix, but I wouldn't blame it on the consumer or company, because in the market that we are currently having, it's like really hard for them. I would rather blame it on the government, because they have the power to change something, and if they regulate more by strict laws, then the companies have no other option to switch to greener solutions, opinions. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thanks for your interview.
No problem.
I think your answers were really good.
A central role in addressing climate change. It has set the long-term goal of making Europe climate neutral by 2050. This means reducing greenhouse gas emissions to net zero. To achieve this, the EU develops strategies and pathways that guide sectors like energy, transport, and industry. It also creates binding laws to ensure that member states take action. In addition, the EU coordinates cooperation between countries and represents Europe in global climate agreements such as the Paris Agreement. To explore possible futures, this project uses scenario analysis. Instead of predicting one single outcome, scenario analysis considers multiple possible futures based on key uncertainties. In this case, there are two main uncertainties. First, the severity of climate impacts in Europe. Will they remain manageable or become extreme? Second, the level of political unity within the EU. Will countries act together or remain divided? In this scenario, the EU acts early and effectively, and climate impacts remain serious but manageable. Renewable energy expands rapidly, and cities adapt to heat and flooding. Farmers receive support to make agriculture more climate resilient. Member states cooperate closely, and the green transition creates jobs and strengthens competitiveness. Public trust in EU policies increases, and Europe becomes a global leader in climate action. However, there is a risk of complacency. If the situation feels under control, political momentum could weaken over time. In this future, climate impacts are extreme. Europe faces deadly heat waves, major floods, water shortages, and repeated emergencies. However, the EU responds with strong coordination. Crises push countries to cooperate more closely, leading to deeper integration. Emergency funds increase, joint response systems expand, and citizens accept stronger government intervention. Despite this, there is a risk that even strong institutions could be overwhelmed by the scale and cost of the disruption. In this scenario, climate impacts worsen gradually, but political unity is weak. Some countries take action while others delay. As a result, public trust declines, and delayed action makes future adaptation more difficult and expensive. This is the worst-case scenario. Strategic actions. Because the future of climate change in Europe is uncertain, the European Union must prepare for multiple possible outcomes. First, the EU needs to reduce emissions faster by expanding renewable energy and cutting fossil fuel use. Second, it must strengthen climate adaptation, protecting infrastructure, improving water systems, and preparing cities and agriculture for extreme weather. Third, maintaining unity between member states is essential. A fair transition and support for vulnerable regions can prevent political division. Fourth, the EU should build strong crisis response systems, including early warning systems and coordinated disaster response. Finally, Europe must continue to act as a global climate leader, working with other countries to tackle climate change together. These actions can help ensure that Europe remains resilient, no matter what the future brings.